When I think of the word hood, I think of a person, a place, and perhaps even a thing. I'm Sir Creepsta, and welcome to Muhlenberg County Ghost Stories from the Hood Shorts. So, sit back, relax, grab up your snacks, and be terrified by another ghost story from the Hood. By now, it had become crystal clear to Rick that his home was on full attack by several different entities that occupied it at the same time. This terrified himself, his wife, and the rest of the family immensely. From hearing many other stories that were shared to me by Rick, I took it upon myself to dig deep into his paranormal situation. And what I came up with, based on the way Rick had described most of his stories to me, was that he was always seen to be in a drunken state of mind whenever the strange things happened to both he and his wife. This led me to believe that both he and his wife were under attack by what appeared to be a Japanese alcohol spirit, also known as a shoho. I myself had based this assumption primarily on the information that he had provided with me. One night, while Rick and his wife were sitting at their kitchen table to have a few casual late-night drinks, Rick quickly felt a change in his wife's appearance, as well as a sudden drop in the temperature in the kitchen. It was the middle of December, and Rick, who had normally kept the thermostat set at around 80 degrees, noticed that it suddenly felt as if it were around 60 degrees, and his body started to shiver, when out of nowhere, his wife's eyes changed from a natural misty blue color to what appeared to be jet black. His wife's eyes stayed this color for what felt like an eternity to Rick. Then, as quickly as they had turned black and the room cold, everything went back to being normal. After several minutes of questioning his wife about the terrifying incident that she had just went through, she was unable to remember anything that happened to her on that cold, frightful December night. Upon telling Rick what I had discovered, the one positive thing that Rick and his wife did afterwards was to eliminate the entire experience from ever coming back to haunt them again by painfully cutting back on their drinking. And the two of them hopefully wouldn't happen to experience this paranormal encounter anytime again with the legendary shoho spirit. But before I go any further, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Also, click on the bell icon so that you can stay in the loop and be notified each and every time I drop a brand new video. The year was 1978. Kelly and a group of his peers were out roaming throughout the neighborhood of Central City when Marvin, the oldest of the guys, asked them if they wanted to go out by the old fairgrounds and do some exploring and messing around in the old, creepy abandoned horse stables, which had been part of the hood for years. Seeing that there really wasn't much else going on around the hood, the fellows all agreed to make the trip, so off they went to the horse stables. Upon arriving at the stables about 10 minutes later, the group began to roam from one stall to the other just to see what might be inside the dark, damp stalls. After having went through about 3 or 4 stables, Kelly, one of the biggest of the group, motioned to them that he thought he heard a strange noise coming from the back of one of the dark stables. Unable to make out anything in the darkness, Marvin told Kelly that he was just scared and just didn't want to look any further in the empty stalls. But right before Kelly was given the chance to show his bravery to the rest of the group, Paul, another one of the group guys, motioned for all of them to look towards the back side of the building that housed the stables. And to their surprise, right before their very eyes, emerged a dark figure with piercing yellow eyes staring in their direction. From a glance, the figure appeared to be short at first, but once it began to raise up, it was clear to the frightened group of guys that the dark figure was well over 6 feet in height. Upon seeing this grimacing monstrosity, The group all turned around in utter fear and hightailed it out of the dark building that housed the horse stables, ran back to the hood, and after safely making it back in the hood, and finally catching their breath in utter disbelief of what they had all just witnessed, they solemnly swore amongst each other to never, ever set foot back into the abandoned horse stables ever again. Jack and a few of his friends had gotten together, chipped up a few dollars to buy some alcohol from the local bootlegger, and go up to Blue Ridge, which was a section of Clinton, Kentucky, to party for a few hours before they called it a night. When the alcohol runner got back, the group, which was around 10 or so, all marched off into the wooded area of the small country town. Once arriving at their desired location, they all commenced to partying, drinking, listening to music, and having a good old time. Around midnight, the alcohol started running low, and everyone seemed to have had a good time in their drunken state of mind. Suddenly, Jack asked the rest of the group if they had noticed anything strange. Unable to pinpoint what he was referring to, he calmly broke it down and asked them all when was the last time that they could recall hearing the crickets or any other sounds common to the woods. Looking amongst one another, the group replied back that they really hadn't paid that much attention to the sounds, to be honest. That was everyone except Red, one of the group of guys who hadn't engaged in the same drunk fest that the rest of his friends had. Red went on to tell them that he too, along with Jack, had noticed just how quiet and still the woods had gotten, and that made him feel a little weary and uncomfortable because it just wasn't natural. Then out of nowhere, they could hear the sound of something large trouncing through the woods, and whatever it was, it appeared to be heading their way. This was quickly followed up by what sounded like grunting and snarling sounds, along with a loud yelp, which was so loud it echoed throughout the woods. The sound frightened the group of guys so bad that they all rushed to their vehicles, which were 2 pickup trucks. Just as the last member of the group climbed in the back of the last truck, a bipedal creature, which looked like hair covering his body, and a goat-like head with horns, standing a little over 5 feet tall, came bursting through the woods in a state of terrorizing rage. The drivers of the 2 trucks burrowed out of the dense woods, leaving whatever it was that chased them out in a trail of mud and grass. To this day, Jack doesn't have a clue to what it was they saw on that dreadful night. All he knows is that it scared the shit out of him and the rest of his friends, and they haven't set foot back into the Blue Ridge Woods ever again. Darren, Penrod, and a couple of their closest friends had all gathered together in an abandoned house located on Morehead Street in City, Kentucky. The group of guys were all just hanging out, doing what typical teenagers did back then, which was smoke a little reefer, down a few beers, and reminisce about all of the fun times that they always shared together. The house that they were in, according to Darren, was rumored to have been haunted. Not really buying in on Darren's take of the house, the guys just laughed at Darren and continued on with their partying. Around midnight, Penrod had drunk several beers and had told his friend he was going to find a bathroom in the house and relieve himself. There was no electricity on in the house, so it was pitch black dark. So Penrod took out his lighter and proceeded to walk down the dark hallway. Once inside the bathroom, Penrod went about relieving himself when he thought he heard an ominous voice saying, "Get out, get out." This scared Penrod so much that he nearly pissed his pants. He then dashed out of the bathroom, ran down the hallway, and alerted his friends about what he had just experienced. In a matter of seconds, the entire group of guys fled the house. Unknowing to the rest of the group, Darren had brought along a tape recorder and had placed it in one of the other rooms to try to see if it would pick up anything overnight. The following day, Darren and another friend of his went back into the house to retrieve the tape recorder. Darren couldn't wait to hear what, if anything, had been captured on the recorder. After pressing play, what Darren and his friend heard frightens them every time they think about it, even to this very day. Once the recorder started playing, all that could be heard were static sounds and the settling sound that an empty house usually makes. This went on for about 10 minutes. Then out of nowhere, the loud slams of doors could be heard coming from all over the house, followed up closely by the ominous and frightful voice of someone or something saying, "Get out! Get out of my house now!" The voice, along with the terrifying slamming of the door, scared Darren and his friends so much that they couldn't wait to share it with Penrod and the other group of guys who were with them on that horrifying night. After that dreadful experience and hearing the tape recording, Darren and none of his friends ever stepped foot back into the haunted house on Morehead Street again. That's all for tonight, guys. I hope that you enjoyed my stories, and I ask you to please stay tuned for more to come. I'm Sir Creepsta, and until next time, stay terrified.